Self-care. This is something that you and I hear bandied about. You and I have talked about it, and I think we have used it a few times in previous episodes. But what about that self-care that's almost spur of the moment? It's not something you've planned, you haven't planned to do something. It feels spur of the moment. You wake up and you just think, today I don't want to, what do you call it, adulting. I don't want to be with people or see people. I just want to just give me some space. So, Lenka, how do you deal with that? Because one of the things that as business owners that is comes up is just push through. I've got to see clients. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. I've got to meetings. And the idea is I've just got to keep going. I've got to just push through. You can do it. But why not just stop and just say, let me see, what can I juggle in my diary? What can I do tomorrow? What can I shift? What can I reschedule? And give yourself that space. So when you have moments like that, Lenka, what do you like to do? How do you deal with that day?
Yeah, it feels like you summarized it up perfectly. 2 minutes, episode podcast, done. No, just joking. But today is one of those days where I just feel off. I woken up with a bit of a throat itch, with a little bit of a congested nose, with a bit of a headache, with unexpected period. The weather is pretty bad out there. Autumn is really here. And I'm like, I don't want to do anything. I just like, it's Monday. I just don't feel like doing anything. And there are days like that. Like, we cannot expect that every single day you're going to be at exactly the same energy, the same motivation, the same inspiration, the same desire to persevere and be resilient and push through. And that's where self-care is great when you feel good and when you do it as a prevention. But self-care is absolutely essential when you don't feel good and when you feel a bit run down. And I think that that's the beauty of running your own business, that you can take it slow, that I can today do the bare minimum, which is, record a quick podcast. I did have a quick coaching call with my business community, which is just me kind of working on my business thinking a little bit. I did write lots of notes. I did open lots of tabs. And then I just watched YouTube for half an hour because I just could not convince myself to do anything else. And after this, I'm just planning to have lunch and probably just watch Netflix for the rest of the day. It's something I don't do frequently enough. Like, I'm not the person who would be on Netflix every day. It's not something I would have in my, daily, weekly routine. So every now and then I just feel like, yeah, I really don't want a human today. I don't want to deal. And that's okay. So I think part of this conversation really needs to be giving yourself the permission that if you don't feel like it, I like doing this early on to take it as a precaution. I did pack my system full of all the goodies, made a ginger turmeric shot, had my green stuff, had my probiotics, had my everything, but also just the rest and recovery and have a nap, do some gentle exercise, yes, eat a bit more comfort food. So I'm definitely going more off the summer salads, more towards winter, heartwarming, warmer foods. So I think it is essential to not always want to push and, go 50,000 miles an hour. It's really crazy and juggling all the balls. Or also for someone like me, be so rigid and stick to your plan no matter what, because it's the plan that I made and because it's taking me to the goals I wanted, because it's what I said I'm going to do, you're going to do it. Yes. So for me, it's all about balance. It's about giving myself the permission, obviously not overdoing it, not then spending a week or two just doing this when I'm actually feeling good. But if in the spur of the moment you just really don't feel it and you can feel that your body is asking for it, then listen to your body. What do you think, Natalie? What would you add?
I totally get it. And while you're surfing YouTube, I hope you did go on to Into Your Life podcast, channel and just had a look at those videos. But I do get that, sometimes we just need to take a break, just allow us to be human, allow us to feel those emotions of, I just don't want to do it today. I don't have the energy for whatever reason. It could be a variety of reasons. And one of the things that you mentioned was the seasonal change. And if you think about the seasons, we're going into, in the Northern Hemisphere, we're going into autumn. If you look around, things slow down. The squirrels are slowing down. They're not so fast picking their nuts because hopefully they've got all their acorns and nuts that they need. The trees are shedding their leaves. We are starting to, the nights are getting longer, days are getting cooler. So there's a lot happening right now with the seasons change. And we as humans, I think sometimes we forget that we are also impacted by the way the seasons change. And I speak to my mother in South Africa, and of course they are now going into spring. They have very short spring and they are zooming into summer. And all of a sudden they're full of energy. Their trees have all blossomed and got leaves on, and she's all about the energy and doing this and doing that and planning this. And I'm like, no, slow down. It's time to slow down. And it's interesting is they've been very slow in South Africa, because they've been in winter. Now they're coming alive, coming out of their winter hibernation, which is only for like a couple of months, unlike here. And we are slowing down. We've come through our summer. We've had the energy. We've gone walking. We've done all the things in the summer. We've socialized. We've had energy. We've done whatever it is you do. Plus, as you mentioned, eating the salads, the summer meals that are lighter, that are cold. And now we are going into the autumn. So start thinking about those soups, start thinking about the comfort food, start thinking about having a jersey on. And today, as we are recording this, it actually doesn't feel like autumn here in the UK, but it's there anyway. You know it's there. So giving ourselves that permission to just like, okay, today, what can I do that's slower? So there's a couple of commitments that you've chosen to stick to, like recording this podcast, but also giving yourself that space, that time to watch Netflix, have lunch, most probably more quietly than you would normally because you rushing about, dare I use those words, as business owners who rush through your lunch. And I'm sometimes guilty of that, having my lunch at the computer and not stepping away because I'm busy doing something and I don't want to stop. But giving yourself that time to binge on Netflix, to have that comfort food, to just be, just allow yourself to be. And I often look to nature to see, why am I like I am right now? And it's usually either something to do with the moon or something to do with the way the weather is. We are impacted by those things. Even though we don't have to live our lives around them, unless you're a farmer, then you do still plan around the seasons. But our bodies, us, our humanness, still impacted by all that's going on in the world. We have planets aligning or retrograding and whatever they're doing. We have the seasons that are doing weird things. We have eclipses, we have sun, we have moons, we have phases of the moon, we have the way the planet's tilting. Yeah, this is all stuff that I just vaguely know about, and I'm sure we will find guests to come and help us understand that. But we're still impacted by it. Even if we don't necessarily know anything about it, we're still impacted by it. And the biggest thing is, as you said, it's giving ourselves the permission to just, nah, today it's about Netflix. Today it's about the comfort food. Today it's cross that off the list, reschedule that. Okay, I can do that one. No, scrap that one. That's not that important. Take time to just be me, just allow myself to have that moment. And as you mentioned, Lenka, it is so important to not just let it drag out for weeks, but just a day. We're human. Allow our humanness to come out and play sometimes. So I love it that you have given yourself the time, the space to just.
And I think it's important to do it guilt-free, because previously, I would have done this with always being in my mind, like, you should be doing more, you should not be doing this, you're not good enough, you're not productive enough, you're wasting time. I would not have a proper time to just rest and digest and process and enjoy. Even when I would be taking these kind of self-care days or half days, couple hours, I would still be in my mind to be like, oh, you should be working, you should not be just this. But I really worked on it, and to be like, now, no, I deserve it. It's okay. I can just take today, very easy, all good, and see tomorrow. Is it a better day? And it is. Being more in tune with your body and with the world around you, to kind of touch on lots of the things that can be happening that we are noticing. We maybe consciously are not aware of them, and we consciously kind of explain them, but we're still animals, we're still creatures living in this world, and there is energy outside of us that we cannot explain, and yet it does impact us, and we have to allow ourselves to process it. I am taking it easy today, and my question is to you, our lovely listeners and viewers, that what do you do when you feel meh, when you feel like today is not my day? Do you always push through, or do you sometimes say, no, today is one of those days where I really need to take care of myself? And what do you do in those days? What is your go-to self-care kind of ad hoc activity? Is it more of a book? Is it sleep? Is it light exercise? Is it nature? We would love to hear from you, to know what it is that really allows you to recharge and wake up the day after, in a couple of days, and be like, you know what, time well spent, I feel incredible again.